Good morning. This is Miss T coming back with another topic that we need to discuss. First of all, I would like to say that I lost a couple of subs on the last topic, but that's okay. That's okay. Some people are not going to agree with everything I say. It's not I'm not trying to bash anyone. I'm not trying to belittle anyone. I'm just on here to spread information in hopes that people will go out, read, do different things so that we can try and turn our community around. It's been a long time. As I can see, we're still the only race that does not stick together. And it's not really our fault all the way, and I'm going to let you know why. So today we're talking about black women's relationships. I long to get this out because I want my sisters to realize that we need each other. We need to be strong together in unity. And there's so many talented, beautiful black women that we don't even see because we're still too busy dealing with this pain and the dividingness that really wasn't our fault. But it's been too long, and I think it's time to heal, and it's time to move on from that. So I will use the word again. We have been systematically brainwashed to have these feelings towards one another. And so let's get started. So I want to know, have you ladies ever been to the mall, somewhere out, shopping or something, and you see another lady of your color coming towards you, and you smile or wave at them, and they look at you like you're crazy? She doesn't even know you. And so you think, what did I do to her? I couldn't have done anything to her. I don't even know her. Well, today we're giving a little history, how this started. And I'm not going to really go into, well, maybe I am. You tell me. During slavery, the master had already had things in line that he had set up to keep all of us at each other so that we did not come together and overtake plantations. This was their fear, that we would gather together, and the strong black men, because they did fear these black slaves who had that were strong and bigger than them, and just they were afraid. They knew if the black man could all get away, that they were doomed. And so they did everything they could to keep us apart, breaking the black man down. And I bring him in because there's a little bit of history about men kind of leaving their families or leaving their wives because their wives had a baby by the master or the slave trainer or whoever, when they really know that was not her choice, and she's under the same power that you are. So it's affecting her because it's being done to her. And then for her husband to turn his back on her because of the child, this brought resentment also. So after years of this pain and suffering, and they breaking your spirits, and the fact that they can come into your cabin and sleep with your wife, you may be there or you may not. He might send you down the road, and you just have to sit there knowing that what this man is doing to her. So this has went on for quite a while. They had their own way of trying to either make more slaves, or they just was having their way with the women. So as these babies were being born, some of them looking whiter than their masters, they were not freed. They were still considered slaves because they were black. So the masters, when they brought, I'm not going to say brought because I don't want anybody, I believe a certain thing, I don't know, but when they captured us from where we were at, they did their due diligence to break us from day one. They told us that we were ugly, dumb, couldn't learn. And it's ironic, you can tell somebody you can't learn. So why not give them a book? All they would be able to do is look at the pages, because they knew that was not true. They kept us from having the necessities, being able to bathe. Now, when you want to relax and feel good, you want to take a hot bath or a hot shower and wash your hair and all that good stuff, so that it calms you down so you can relax. They didn't care if their slaves were relaxed. They wanted them to produce whatever they wanted to do. So they didn't get baths like, when their children were born, sometimes they sold them away from them. That was a tactic to use against them in the future. Now you can sell a baby, it goes off to live on another plantation, raised by a woman who is not their mother, so she's raising them to be a slave, because that's what the master wants. If they stay with their parent, the parent is still going to give them the love and attention, and even some backlash, because she might have the child might have fell asleep or did something that the master didn't like, and the mother's going to beg the master not to hurt her child. So like I said, as they continued to do this, they started to have a lot of mulatto children, and it became lighter slaves versus dark slaves. The dark slaves, because the white man deemed them unattractive and they didn't want to look at them, and they belonged out in the field like animals, they chose the lighter skinned slaves because they resembled them, and they were in their eyes, they were prettier, they had beautiful hair. So they would use those slaves to do inside work in the house, or to drive them back and forth, the men, with the buggy. And this caused a rift between dark slaves and black slaves. Even though they were all under the same tyrant, he closely maneuvered how to keep us apart at all times. Mainly men, it could be no reason apparently, just that maybe he looked a little too masculine, had too many muscles. He was he had this thing on his head so that if he tried to run, it would jingle, and it's very uncomfortable. So they did everything that they could to keep us down. So as this resentment, grew, the black slaves were turning against the white slaves because they were like, we're out here in the field in the sun from sun up to sundown, and you're in the house with pretty clothes and food. And that, at least that's what they thought. But just because they were in the house doesn't mean that they had it better than the dark slaves. The master had access to the women at all times. If he wanted to do whatever he wanted to do, she was right there in his house. And then his wife, due to jealousy, would torture and beat her because of her husband's sins, not because of her. She did nothing. She's forced to do these things. She didn't want to do these things. She was forced. I just wanted to stop right here and see if anyone knew this, because this is a little trivia. There's some actresses that I did not know were passing, they're black women passing as white. And it was a shock to me because I never knew. Maybe you guys knew. You know Carol Channing? I think she was a comedian, I'm not sure. But she was passing. Angie Dickinson, now I know her. She's an actress, very good actress. I used to watch her. She is black, passing and passed for white. And Dinah Shore, I believe she had a television series. She was black and she was passing for white. Of course, they couldn't say that at that time, but it has all come out, later. So the family was broke up in every way possible. Kids were being sold, mothers being sold, men being hung and for no reason and beaten. And so all of that would break your soul. And so you're looking at, there's no hope for us. We're gonna die. They were in fear all the time, just in fear. The children, the mothers had to try and protect them because they sometimes felt, that babies were not any help to them because they can't do anything. And so they would use them for other things that I'm not going to talk about right now. So after all the torture, after all the humiliation, the bondage, the never having to rest, the constant calling of names, you're black, you're ugly, you have big lips, and then they would, keep that out, while they're praising the lighter skinned slaves for being, pretty and beautiful and clean, because they take black and white and make a narrative, and black is always something negative, while white is always on a good note. So after slavery was over, there were nearly 4 million slaves freed, not knowing where they were going to go or how they were going to get there. Some of them wanted to go look for the family that they lost. It was just a chaotic time, and they didn't know really what they were going to do. Some relocated to the north. Some stayed in the south, and others were given the right to pass. They were given this birthright to pass as white. I'm not judging them, because would you, after going through years of torturing and what you had to go through, if you had the opportunity not to have to go through that anymore, would you choose that road? So I was not there. I didn't have to. So I'm not going to say what I would have done, or, what I just don't know. So I don't judge them for that. They did what they had to do, or felt they had to do, to survive in this country. So what they would do is they would move to a city far away where no one knew them, and they forgot about everything in their past. They left their mothers, their fathers, their sisters, their brothers, whatever. They could never speak about their families, where they came from. They had to live in fear that people might find their secret out. They had to live in fear that one of their children might come out a little bit dark, and people will start to wonder. And they also had to endure living in a house with their white spouse and their friends, giving the jokes and talking bad and bashing us when they're really talking about you, because that's who you are. So as years have gone by, we had to endure the KKK and the non-voting and all the rights that they tried not to give us, because they didn't want to change their country. They wanted to be the leaders, and we just do what they say, and that's how they wanted it. To keep us humble, to keep us low, so that we felt this is what, sir, and you had to bow your head, not look them in the eye. They had so many rules that they made up to make us feel inferior. Now, there were people all the way who were rebelling against this from day one. Moses, she led slaves to freedom. I believe it was about 700 slaves that she led to freedom, and she didn't lose one slave. And there were others. There were also white people that helped because they knew this was wrong. No matter what, they would take verses out of the Bible and slaves, obey your masters, and they knew that had nothing to do with what they were doing. They never read before or after. They never explained what this was about. They just used that passage to say that God said that we are to obey our masters, and you don't want to go against God. And what I want to say is, because sometimes they say they introduced us to Christianity, and I don't believe that. These people were constantly telling them that they were nothing, and God said to obey. Those spiritual songs that they were singing, they weren't singing it to that God that said obey their masters. They were singing it to their God and asking him to come and save them. Those songs were not just thought up. I didn't hear that the power in their voices, knowing he's going to swing down low and take us home. They knew that the God they served was a loving God, and he was going to deliver them. Even though they told them over and over again you're going to be nothing but a slave, and you should get used to it and obey, because this is the way of your life. So this went on for a while. There was Ku Klux Klan formed to terrorize free black people from even trying to live, a normal life, even trying to just live day by day or feed their families. That's all they were trying to do. So anytime someone got a word that somebody went to register to vote or anything, that's when they did their night riding to terrify them. And sometimes they went far enough to leave a message for the rest who wanted to think about doing this. So as this was going on, there was one man who decided it's time for us to have equal rights, and his name was Dr. Martin Luther King. And during this era, black people came together. They worked together, they fought together, they got beaten together, they went to jail together, they got dogs sicked on them together, they were sprayed with hoses together, and they got spitted on together. That was the most time that black people actually stuck together. Their common cause was to be free, to be able to do what everybody else is doing. In 1968, we were declared to have equal rights, but it didn't do much to better our situation. Meanwhile, white society was making mockery of us. They would, on TV, as TV was getting bigger and bigger, they were putting, they only allowed black people to play, the roles that they let them play, the butlers and the maids and the sidekick who didn't know how to talk or made them talk funny. And those were for their entertainment. Wasn't for bettering or getting the black actor award. It was to make them feel better. Okay, we weren't allowed to stop you from being freed, but we're not going to let you go any further, because we're still better than you, and you're going to remember that the whole time that you're on earth. So our dark-skinned people, with their full lips and their nappy hair, started to believe, and I'm not going to say all of them, that they were not as good as the light-skinned people. I want to give you a nursery rhyme that the white kids used to say to the black kids. And it's, if you're black, get back. If you're brown, stick around. If you're yellow, you're mellow. And if you're white, you're all right. This is going on and on with segregation and people being terrorized and people being murdered and women being what was happening to them. This gets embedded in your psyche, and it was passed down generation to generation. So black people started to believe that in order for us to live, our lives and to strive, we have to remove ourselves from our darker brothers and sisters. So they would move to different communities and, have nice houses, and they would have, the little cliques that they had, our club or gin club or whatever club that they had. So this little procedure that they did to see if you were able to join their club was they would put a brown paper bag close to your skin, and if you were darker than that paper bag, you were not allowed to join the club. So now black people are discriminating against black people. I don't really think that they were aware that this was, I know they knew it was wrong because they all went through it together, but I think this is the only way they knew how to survive. They just wanted their families to be safe and them to prosper, and so they just played by the rules. As time went on, generation after generation, black people started to make it a requirement. Men were told, here we go back with the paper bag. Men were told by their mothers, don't bring her home if she, if she's darker than this paper bag. But you still had mothers who said, don't bring her home if she can't use our comb. So I'm not saying all. This is not all. It's just some who fed into the rules that they felt their rules. They didn't have to feel anything about it. They can just make up a rule one day and then you have to abide by it. So as this time is passing, I hate to say, but that's just the way it was. Light-skinned people started to think they were better than dark-skinned people. They were smarter. They were prettier. They could, do better in a job. And so they started to look down on the darker-skinned people. And handed down generation. We're still going down generation and generation. Some exceptions to the rules, because they'll always make exceptions to for their sake. So if you could play baseball or basketball or any kind of sport, they would accept you in even if you were a dark-skinned person, because this is their entertainment. And if you're good, they want to see a good game. So you were tolerated. You were, I won't say accepted, you were tolerated. And meanwhile, we were still dealing with, I went to a job today and they gave it to, he's not even qualified as, doesn't have the qualifications like I do, but he was light-skinned. Or she got the dancing part. She couldn't even dance. She was stumbling and she was falling on the floor. And I did a perfect, my routine was perfect, but they gave the part to her because she was light-skinned. This went on and on. So what do you think after years and years and years of this, and nobody's really thinking of the big picture, it starts to really blow up. That scar never really healed. It was just bandaged. So we are here in 2024, and some people are saying colorism doesn't happen anymore. That was done a long time ago, and it doesn't happen anymore. But if you have clear eyes and you can hear and see, you know that it's still in existence to this day. Oh yeah, they threw us some bones. They gave us some black women on a magazine, and they would have dark skin and natural hair, and the white women would admire and want to emulate them. Mind you, they hated us and told us we were ugly, but they still tried to imitate everything about us. They would make skirts and puff them up in the back to wear all this in the summer, wear all this clothing to give them illusion that they had a backside. They would tan, because some, we have all different colors in the spectrum, and every color is beautiful. They would tan till they wanted to get to the color that they wanted to. They would, just model themselves after us, while telling us that we're not good enough and that we're unattractive. I don't like to I was going to give a few scenarios about black, light-skinned and dark-skinned women in the, in our, actresses, but I'm just going to leave that alone, because I think everybody can tell whose career usually goes up and whose career might not go so far, even though they are just as talented, but they just don't fit the narrative of what their America is supposed to be. I'm not taking away anything from Taylor Swift or anybody else. I hear she's a good entertainer, and she was on her grind and she's made it. So I'm not taking anything away from her. But it always seems that the accolades of a black woman will never match up, and she will never get the same backing as they do. There's a beautiful singer who has a beautiful voice, and her name is Coco Jones. You might not hear about her a lot because she's she's dark. Beautiful girl, but she's dark. So they also have to think of, how she doesn't fit in their narrative. They'll take her voice and, make records off of it. I don't really know how many performances she's done. I know she's done one. It might have been on BET, I'm not sure. But she has a very beautiful voice, and I just think she's underrated. SZA, who has been on the scene for quite some time, and people have, liked her music, but it took for her to sing about, doing whatever for her man, that she, like it was almost like she's condoning violence, and she would join in just to protect her man. And that won her a Grammy. And I said I wasn't going to talk about, but I just wanted to put out a couple of, and I also love Kelly Rowland. I think she's beautiful. But I want to look at another person who I believe has been pushed aside because of the stereotypes. This woman's name is Tarana Burke, and she's the founder of the Me Too movement, which she started back in 2006, which it would help women who were assaulted get their counseling in different things, and she's been doing that for years. Nobody highlighting it, nobody's speaking about it. She's just getting her and a group of girls together, and this is what they're doing. Now, when the Me Too movement took off in 2017, when all the, men in Hollywood were being accused of all the stuff that they were doing to actresses or whatever, so the Me Too got pushed up front. But it was no longer represented by Tarana Burke, who is the founder. It was taken over by Alyssa Milano. Now, you'll ask yourself, why would they replace the woman who founded the movement? She knows what's the ins and outs, and how many women have been helped, and what places to call and where to send people. Why would they take that away from her and give it to Alyssa Milano, who is an actress? I'm going to let you figure that out for yourselves. Some people say, again, colorism does not exist. We all know Barack Obama would not have been president had he looked like Big Worm. That wouldn't have never happened. And it's all due to they're still putting your dark skin with the slave. You said they came over here, or they were this, they were that, and I don't really know who appointed whom to determine what beauty is. I know in some countries, I've seen some documentaries, and they had some beautiful African women, just beautiful. So I don't know who started a petition to tell them what beauty looks like, but I know it was only because they wanted to keep us separated, and they just did whatever they did to do that. I hope in this day and age, and what I really would like is, I would like people, women, to see women for themselves, no matter what their color is. Everybody has something to bring to the table. There are so many talented women are in the arts. They're going to the moon, and these are role models for our little girls. So if we have these role models that they can see some of them that look like them and really look like them. You know, there was a couple of years ago where little black girls were saying they were ugly and, you know, crying. And I was so hurt. I didn't know where this was coming from. But once again, when it's embedded and you're brainwashed, it's just automatic. That's why it's very important to let your child know that she is beautiful, that the world is going to treat her unkind. They're going to beat her down. And I'm not saying the men, they're going to do it to men, but right now we're talking about women. She's going to have the weight of the world on her shoulder. She needs somebody who understands and can take some of that weight off. And that's going to be another sister. I know what you're going through. I know what you've been through. Let's just talk. Let's just sit here and drink some tea and hold hands. Let's just read the Bible. And let's just, you know, because I know what you're going through. If they're left alone by themselves with these kind of thoughts, I'm ugly, I'm not better than, and I'm never going to be better, that's when all the other things, the issues come in, like drugs and alcohol. And that's not the only reason. We'll talk about that later. But it's just painful to see that we have suffered for so many years. And when I say we, it's just the whole generation. You know, it's gotten a little better as time goes by, but not a lot. And if we can just look inside you. I know that everyone has good inside of them. And if you can just look inside you and picture that you were that person, maybe you would have more understanding. You would have more compassion, empathy, instead of being the ones who are making them, the dark-skinned people, feel, you know, unloved or, you know, unwanted. So as I close, I would like my sisters to know you are all beautiful. Don't let anyone tell you that you are not. I don't care if you're dark-skinned and all the hues in between until you get too light-skinned. There is beauty in every shade. And beauty is just not the outside. Beauty is when you hold your head up high and you take care of business and you are helping people in the community and you are speaking at schools, teaching girls that they can be in the corporate world and those kind of things. Not every child is going to want to be a model or whatever. So we have to work on that really, really hard. There's really no reason. Well, I gave you the reasons, but since we have come this far, those reasons should really not be important. You know, we can't come together in unity if we're holding those past tortures that we've been bringing down out of fear and out of, you know, trying to be something in this world. And we've proven that we are, so that we can now take the painful, you know, plans that they had for us and throw them away. I get, and I'm not going to cry, but I just get emotional to see that my sisters some of them don't see how great they are, because they're too busy being judged by their looks, and it hurts, and that's all they can focus on. If you were called ugly every day, if you were called bald-headed every day, if you were called big lips, whatever, you're probably not going to be called big lips anymore, because also they are plumping their lips. Back in slave days, they called them flappers. We were, with the big lips, but now all of a sudden, they want those, and big behinds, and, different things. There is nothing like a strong black woman. I'm telling you, they are just amazing. And I can say that because I'm a woman, and I admire women. When we have a woman that steps up, and we have a woman who's speaking out, it's for the good of all of us. It's not just for her. Everybody shines. They already think black women, they already have this perception of black women, that they're lazy, and that they, just party, and they don't take care of their kids, and they have several fathers, and that may be true, but you don't know what that woman went through. You don't know the pain that caused her to not feel good about herself, and that's what she thought she was worth. So if everybody could just live by, but there for the grace of God go I, because it could have been you, it could have been your sister, it could have been your brother. It's only through the grace of God that some people are not in the gutter on drugs, and some people are not just, wanting to end it all. Now, there are some people who has done that. But if we stop all of the bickering, the fights between men and women, women and women, if we could get past all of that and realize, hey, what's the issue? Because it's kind of like there's a war started way back, and the war has gone on for years and years. People have been slaughtered, and more people have joined, and the war is still going on. By that time, the people are going to say, what are we fighting for again? They don't even know why they are still fighting. So, if anything, I hope that people will join on to trying to get our community to turn around. We've talked about a lot of different things. I'm sure there's other people out there who have feelings of how we can, stop all of this and make our situation better. And so that's all I have for today. I would like to shout out to a channel, and it's Tay Eats. She does a channel where she makes healthy foods. I believe she also has recipes for vegans. That's another thing. We need to start eating healthy, because we were introduced to the foods that we eat. that's causing high blood pressure and blocked arteries and everything else. And this is a healthier way to get, to feel better and to live longer. I had another one, and I'm so sorry, I can't remember the name, but I feel so bad. Okay, well, next week I'm just going to shout out like 4, because I had some that I wanted to shout out, good women with good positive platforms that are trying to make a change. And so this week it's Tay Eats. I hope you guys have a great day. I know this is Super Bowl Sunday. I'm not into football, but I'm always for the underdog. I don't know the other team, but I'm sure Kansas City's not the underdog. So I guess I'm rooting for who Kansas City is playing. So that's all I have. I want to shout out the people that are really, really supporting me also. And Keith, I haven't seen you in a while, brother. I hope that you're fine, but you have always encouraged me, and you've told me to just keep going, and I appreciate that. I want to say thank you to Chef and his wife. Chef, he'll stop what he's talking about when I come in and just go sub, and I really appreciate that. I appreciate that very much. I also want to thank Realist. He shouts me out and gives me encouragement, and I appreciate that. And all you people that put wonderful comments and just give me good, it just gives me good feelings that some people are listening, and they want change too. So you know who you are. I care about all of you, and I thank you so much, and I will see you next week.